Blake Lively's legal nightmare just took another wild turn, and this time, even Hollywood insiders are saying she might not recover from this. From leaked text messages to surprise subpoenas and a judge who's clearly running out of patience, this courtroom drama is spiraling fast. Tonight, we're breaking down every shocking twist, the PR fallout, and why Justin Baldoni might have just pulled off the move that changes everything. Buckle up, it's rush hour. All right, folks, let's get right into it, because the legal circus surrounding Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni just refuses to die down. You'd think after months of filings, leaks, and PR spin, the whole thing would start to settle, but no. This thing keeps detonating in new directions every week. And now it looks like Blake might be facing something even bigger than the courtroom, a full-blown credibility crisis. So here's what went down. Earlier this week, a new filing hit the court docket, and it's got people buzzing. Blake's team, led by Brian Friedman, who's basically Hollywood's go-to fixer when things go nuclear, tried to suppress a batch of digital communications that, according to multiple insiders, could directly contradict her earlier claims. And guess who's connected to those communications? Taylor Swift. Yeah, Taylor's name keeps coming up in these filings like an echo nobody can silence. Now, what's wild about this is how public perception has flipped. At the start of this mess, Blake had this image of control, like she could outsmart the media machine. But lately, the headlines are painting her as evasive, out of touch, even calculating. And whether that's fair or not, it's working against her. Because once a narrative like that takes root, especially in Hollywood, it's almost impossible to dig yourself out. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni is playing the long game. He's not going on podcasts, he's not issuing Instagram statements, he's just quietly letting his legal filings do the talking. That silence, it's powerful. Because every time Blake's team tries to shape the story, Justin's side comes back with something that undercuts it. And it's starting to look like a pattern. What's more, we're hearing that multiple media outlets, including a few that had previously sided with Blake, are now pulling back. They don't want to get caught in the crossfire of potential discovery subpoenas. Remember when I said a few weeks ago that this case might start touching journalists and influencers? Well, that's already happening. The subpoenas reportedly sent to several online commentators are signaling that this case could stretch way beyond the two main parties. And that's the scary part. Because in the age of social media law, the court of public opinion can sometimes do more damage than the legal system itself. Blake's team seems to be realizing that too late. Every leaked text, every old interview resurfaced, every cold stare on a red carpet, it all gets interpreted, memed, and weaponized within minutes. The irony? For years, Blake Lively carefully curated her public persona as the graceful one, the polished mother, the PR perfect star, the anti-drama celebrity. And now that same image is being turned inside out. Every attempt to control the narrative only fuels the idea that she's losing control. So let's talk strategy. Because what's happening behind the scenes right now feels like a masterclass in damage control colliding with legal panic. Blake Lively's team knows they're not just fighting a lawsuit anymore. They're fighting for her reputation, her future projects, and honestly, her standing in Hollywood's social ecosystem. And it's fascinating to watch how that plays out when the opponent, in this case, Justin Baldoni, refuses to engage in the usual celebrity chess match. Baldoni's approach has been pure restraint. No sound bites, no leaks from his camp, just precision filings and quiet confidence. That silence is loud, and especially when the other side looks like it's scrambling. Now, insiders say Blake's team is pushing hard to keep certain evidence sealed. These aren't just text messages. They're communications that reportedly include discussions about her professional relationships, private exchanges involving other A-listers, and possibly even messages referencing her conversations with Taylor Swift. Here's where it gets really messy. Remember, Taylor's name wasn't supposed to come up at all. She's not a party in this case, she's collateral. But the more Blake's side tries to suppress these references, the more curious everyone becomes about what's actually in them. Some court observers even compared it to the Streisand effect, where trying to hide something just makes it explode bigger. And trust me, the speculation online is running wild. Reddit threads, TikTok breakdowns, even legal commentary channels are dissecting every word of the filings. You've got half the internet convinced that these messages could redefine how the public sees Blake, not just as an actress or a brand ambassador, but as someone who might have been orchestrating behind the scenes. Let's be clear though, this isn't about guilt or innocence in the traditional sense. This is about perception. And perception in Hollywood is currency. The PR fallout is already visible. Brands that once lined up for partnerships are suddenly quiet. Her usually active social media? Almost radio silent. That's not coincidence. That's crisis management in action. Now, what's fascinating is how Justin's team appears to be capitalizing on this shift without ever saying a word publicly. Every court filing they drop seems to be timed just as Blake's side tries to pivot the narrative. It's like they're setting traps in slow motion. You can almost see the frustration building with her attorneys. Every move they make to suppress or control ends up amplifying the story instead. And this brings us back to Taylor Swift, because here's the thing: if those text messages are ever deemed relevant by the court, and if even fragments become public record, it's not just Blake's narrative that takes a hit. Taylor's team has built her entire empire on trust, loyalty, and selective access. The optics of her being even tangentially involved in someone else's legal scandal? That's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. Now, some people online are suggesting that Taylor's already quietly distanced herself. If you've noticed, there haven't been any recent sightings or mentions. No friendly pap shots. No birthday shoutouts. It could be coincidence, or it could be strategic silence. Because in Hollywood, absence can speak louder than denial. Meanwhile, the court of public opinion is split. Some say Blake's being unfairly targeted because she's a woman with power, while others argue she created this mess by trying to control too much. But the reality is, both can be true. You can be powerful and still mishandle a crisis. You can be wronged and still make PR mistakes that magnify the damage. And let's not forget how unpredictable this case has become. Sources close to the proceedings are saying the judge's patience is wearing thin with all the motions to seal and delay. There's even talk that the court might compel disclosure of certain communications to keep the process transparent. If that happens, we're looking at a potential Hollywood-level detonation. Because once those documents hit the public record, you can't unsee them. You can't respin them, and that's where the panic sets in. Blake's team knows it. Her PR circle knows it. Even some of her industry friends are starting to back off publicly. You're seeing this quiet reshuffling of alliances, like everyone's trying to figure out which side of history they want to be on when the dust settles. Now let's zoom out for a second, because there's a bigger theme here that I think a lot of people are missing. What we're witnessing isn't just one celebrity lawsuit. It's the unraveling of the illusion of control in the influencer era. For a long time, stars like Blake could shape their image through glossy interviews, perfect Instagram feeds, and curated access. But now the internet is the great equalizer. The truth, or even the perception of truth, moves faster than the lawyers can draft NDAs. And it's funny because we've seen this playbook before, but never quite like this. Think about how many times Hollywood's biggest names have tried to outmaneuver a scandal by controlling the narrative, only to end up amplifying it instead. The more you try to silence speculation, the louder it grows. That's exactly where Blake is right now. Every motion filed, every no comment, every carefully worded legal statement becomes a new headline. The more she tries to close the door, the wider it swings open. Now, I'll say this. None of us really know what's in those Taylor Swift messages. And until the court decides, it's all speculation. But one thing's clear. If those texts ever see the light of day, this won't just be a defamation case anymore. It'll become a cultural moment. A referendum on celebrity authenticity, friendship politics, and how far people will go to protect their image. And at that point, no amount of PR spin or friendly magazine profiles will be able to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So where does this all go from here? Honestly, we're standing on a fault line. The judge is expected to rule soon on whether those sealed communications, including the rumored Taylor Swift texts, will be admissible. And that decision could completely change the trajectory of this case. If they stay sealed, Blake buys herself a little time to regroup. But if they're released, it's open season, legally, publicly, and professionally. And make no mistake, Hollywood's watching. Studios, agents, even old friends are reading the same filings we are, and making quiet calculations about who to align with next. That's the part no one says out loud. Loyalty in this town only lasts as long as it's profitable. For now, Blake Lively's team is fighting to keep control. But the court of public opinion has already started writing its own verdict. And if history's any guide, it's not the judge's ruling that ends careers. It's the headlines that follow. So let's take a step back and look at what this moment actually represents. Because it's not just another Hollywood feud or tabloid scandal. What's happening with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is a real-time collapse of the old celebrity control system. For years, stars like Blake could sculpt their image with surgical precision. Every red carpet, every Instagram caption, every Vanity Fair spread carefully crafted to say, "I'm above the drama." But that's the irony. Now, the control itself has become the drama. The very thing that used to protect her brand is now feeding the story. Every sealed filing, every no comment, every quiet PR move becomes a headline. It's like the audience has learned to read between the lines, and they're calling out the performance in real time. And here's the truth. Once the public decides you're hiding something, transparency becomes your only way out. But transparency doesn't work when you've built a career on mystique. That's the paradox Blake's trapped in right now. She can't afford to open the door, but she can't afford to keep it closed either. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's silence is becoming its own narrative. He's doing what so few public figures manage to do in crisis. He's letting time and truth do the talking. That restraint gives him credibility. When one side is constantly reacting, the quiet one starts to look like the adult in the room. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Now let's talk about Taylor Swift for a second, because her name being even loosely tied to this case adds a whole new dimension. Taylor's fan base is a cultural army, and the optics of her being caught in someone else's legal chaos are complicated, to say the least. Whether she's distancing herself or simply staying silent out of respect for the process, one thing's for sure, she's not about to let her reputation get dragged into someone else's storm. But that's exactly what makes this story so compelling. It's no longer just about Blake versus Justin. It's about how fame, friendship, and power collide when the spotlight turns harsh. You can't manage perception the way you could 10 years ago. There's no PR team fast enough to outpace Reddit, TikTok, and armchair analysts with court documents bookmarked. So, as we head into the next chapter, with the judge's decision on those sealed communications looming, the stakes couldn't be higher. If those texts are deemed relevant, we're not just talking about a legal twist. We're talking about a reputational earthquake. Because once private conversations become public evidence, nobody comes out looking untouched. And maybe that's the lesson buried underneath all of this. That in the age of instant transparency, the illusion of control doesn't protect you anymore. It isolates you. Blake's not just fighting a lawsuit. She's fighting the modern reality of fame, where every truth eventually leaks, every alliance gets tested, and every secret becomes somebody's breaking news. So whether this ends in a settlement, a ruling, or another round of leaks, one thing's guaranteed: this story isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started.